This presentation contains copyright material under the Educational Fair Use Exemption to U.S. copyright law. This is video 2 of Piliavin for the new 9990 syllabus. Okay, so before we talk about the background, take a look at the aim, and now we're going to get into some of the meat of really what went on in this study. Okay, so methodology, everything's tried to lay out as best as possible. So for the methodology, okay, they used a New York City subway station, and they considered this to be a lab on wheels. Okay. For those of you who've ever been on a subway, even the Disney monorail, you know at the rush hour times it gets very busy. There's really no room to even move. And so for the times of 11 a.m. to about 3 p.m. on weekdays between April and June 1968 at random times, Piliavin et al., they would have their students go and do their trials. Now the subway ride itself was a 7.5-minute non-stop ride, and obviously this was a control to ensure that, you know, that if it was a minute stop and everything else, that 7.5 minutes that they had enough time to set up to stage their fall and for their observers to take notes. Now, there were 4 teams of students. There's 2 males and 2 females per team, and all of them were college students. Okay. One control also is that males always played part of the victim and always of the model. Okay, so the victim's either drunk or cane. These were the guys who were falling over, and they were either black or white, aged from 26 to 35 years old. Now, again, the models, which are also male, all the models were white, and their ages 24 to 29. So there's a little detail, some of the participants, the students for the study. Now, one team had a so-called black victim, while the other 3 teams had a white victim. Okay, and there were white females acting as observers in all of the teams. Okay, now the experimenters wore identical clothing. They had a bomber jacket on, they had old slacks on. None of them wore a tie, losers, and they want to be very nonchalant as they were, taking part in the study. Now the so-called participants, okay, they were not truly participants in knowing, but these were the people who were on the train during each trial that they carried out. 43 was the average number of riders per the carriage where they had the experiment held. Number of riders in the so-called critical area where the guy would fall over would be 8.5. Again, that's the average. Roughly 55% of passengers were white. About 45% were black. Again, back in 1969, that's about all that we broke it down by. And an estimated 4,500 people overall would participate in the study, certainly making opportunity sample, simply because they were the ones on the train at that time. Here you see a picture of the carriage. You see on the right-hand side the critical area. This is where the victim would fall over. And then on the left-hand side you see the adjacent area, and this is where the observers would sit. Some of the methodology, as I was talking about, you should be familiar with what they call the critical area and the adjacent area. Again, a critical area, this is where the student would collapse. The adjacent area, this would be the area further away from the victim, and this is where the observers were. Certainly, this would enable them to get a better view of the entire subway train versus just that little area a couple feet away from them. In the so-called drunk condition, okay, the victim smelled of alcohol and carried a bottle wrapped in a brown paper bag. In total, there are 38 drunk conditions that were ran. In the cane condition, okay, the victim appeared to be sober and carried a cane, and there are 65 of these conditions that were ran. Now, the procedure for both the drunk and the cane, just by a flip of a coin, they decided what they're going to run at that day, that time and day. So after about 70 seconds, when the train left the station, the victim would pretend to fall over. Okay. And what would happen here is that the victim would remain on the floor until he was helped up by somebody, or if he was not helped by somebody, the model had 2 types of instructions. Okay, if nobody helped up the person, either after 70 seconds, a so-called early trial, okay, step in and model the helping behavior of picking him up, or other times at 150 seconds, a so-called late trial. Again, if still nobody helped this person up, then the model would step in and show the helping behavior. Again, the observers on either side, they would record the response time, how long it took for somebody to help, if they did, any information they can gather as best as possible on the race and the gender of the people, whether they were sitting or standing. So if somebody was standing in another part of the section, they walked up to help them, or if somebody was sitting in another part, they got up and made that extra effort to move over there. Certainly, if they were standing right there and somebody fell at their feet, they would also record that. And overall, they would note where their locations of the passengers as best as possible on the train were, and certainly those of them who helped. The observers also would write down any qualitative data, such as overheard comments, and they'd also write down if the passengers got up and moved away, as in disgust almost, or not wanting to be part of this guy's plight. Now, whether the victim, cane or drunk victim, does not matter. Whether the victim was helped or not, the team would then exit the train at the new station, and then they would cross over to the other train station going back to the original one. And on the days that they were doing this, the procedure was done any time from 6 to 8 times per day. So is it likely that somebody who is a regular passenger could have seen the same guy fall down before? Again, it is possible, but unlikely. Okay, in case somebody's on a train, oh, I forgot something, I have to get off here and go back with them, and they ran it at the same time by chance. Well, you cannot really take that into account, and certainly that's one of the things that I feel say that you should be aware of. Now, a lot of variables going on here. Unlike in Milgram, which is rather simple, this one has independent variables. This one has multiple dependent variables. Okay. Independent variables, you had the type of victim, as we talked about before, a drunk or a cane victim. The race of the victim, was the victim a black male student or a white male student? And any of the manipulated actions of the model, meaning did the guy step in to help or not? Dependent variables, a lot of them going on here. Okay. Race of the helper, which of the victims, the cane or the drunk victim, was helped the most? What about the speed of helping? What about the gender of the helping? Okay, was it that guys or girls were more likely to give help or to seek out help? How many people helped overall? Okay, did bystanders move away? And what were some of the comments that these bystanders were saying, whether they are helping or not helping? So that's it for video 2. There's a little more for this video Q review question at this point. Number 4. Again, keep with the past 3 from last time. They should all be on one sheet. Number 4, a Piliavin study investigated helping behavior in the New York City subway system. Describe 2 advantages of the field study methodology in investigating this phenomenon. Again, you see this is for 4 points, so it's 2 advantages, so each advantage up to 2 points each. Okay. Number 5, part A, identify 2 IVs of the Piliavin study. Letter B, identify 2 DVs, dependent variables of the Piliavin study. Number 6, describe 2 procedural controls. Again, if you don't remember what a control is, go back in your notes, your text, what have you, and take a look at what controls are, and again, describe 2 procedural controls for Piliavin. Notice this is a 4-pointer again, so each control is worth 2 points. Number 7, Piliavin study collected observational data. Letter A, identify 2 pieces of observational data collected in the study. And letter B, what is a weakness of collecting observational data in any study? Now notice you do not have to mention Piliavin specifically for 7B, but if you want to, you can. It says for any study. And going back to the study itself, as we did for numbers 2 and 3 last time, this time for numbers 8 and 9. Number 8, explain why there was a smaller number of drunk black trials, okay, for 2 points. And number 9, explain why the data collection period unexpectedly concluded. Okay, you should be familiar with that time, in history of what's going on, and certainly how that did impact this particular study. Okay, so that's it for video 1. We got video 2 now done, and then next time we'll come back and we will take a look at video number 3.